Train to main doors.
Alrighty. Um, yeah, we're gonna do some breath work. Matt, do you want to turn up the music, maybe just a touch?
I would love to turn up the music just a touch. Oh yeah, it's way
But I
down
think,
there.
yeah. So Dev, you're new here. Have you done conscious connected breathing before, Dev?
No, I actually haven't. Like, I
Okay.
just know regular breathing patterns through meditation, but uh, wait, did you say box breathing?
Or conscious connected breathing.
Actually, like, yeah, where you count to four and on your in breath, and then four on your out breath, and then pause. I forgot how it all goes, but yeah, I've done it before. I've done box breathing.
Okay, well this will be like just a little different. It's pretty easy. It's just we're just gonna breathe continuously, so over and over and over again.
Okay.
Um, on the inhale, make the inhale like nice and active, fill yourself up. On the exhale, just let it happen. Just let it be effortless. Don't force it out. We're
Okay.
just gonna do one long round and then we'll do a retention. Everyone else knows the drill because you guys have been around. So just encourage you all, except for, well, you can do it on the bus, man. That's cool. um, if you could get in a comfortable seated position and close your eyes, we'll get started here. Alrighty, so before we get started, let's just get connected to the breath. Let's take a couple of deep breaths here. So take a nice deep breath in, another little sip, and then a big exhale. Really nice. I'm gonna do that 2 more times. Really deep breath in, little sip, big exhale. Good. We're gonna do it 1 more time. So take a huge breath in, another little sip. This time hold it, feel that tension, and then let it go. Perfect. Let your shoulders drop. And as your shoulders drop, keep your eyes closed. Let your energy, your awareness, your attention just move down into your body. And throughout this breathing process, just invite you to keep that level of awareness. Just witness what occurs as we continue to breathe. All right, I invite you to now take a nice deep breath in through the mouth. Exhale, let it go. Let's breathe together. Inhale. Exhale. Deep breath in. Letting it go. Fully in. Exhale. Deep breath. Relax. Full breath in. Letting go. And now just keep that rhythm of breath going now. Trying to not have any pause between your inhale and exhale. Just a nice circle of breath, a wheel of life, connecting these inhales and exhales over and over. And just keeping your awareness on your body, just notice what it feels like to breathe. The body can tell you so much if you just pay attention to its rhythm. Just enjoy the gentle sensation of air moving in and out of your lungs, noticing where you can feel the breath, perhaps down into the pelvis, into the lower back, maybe even up into the collarbones as you bring in that rich, rich oxygen. Beautiful. Continuing to breathe, reminding you that it's safe to breathe. It's safe to create this shift in our state. As you might already start feeling the shift that this breath work creates. A tingling sensation, lightheadedness, maybe a vibration through your body. Remember to allow yourself to lean into these sensations, knowing that thousands of people before you have done the same breathing techniques and they all live to tell the tale. And perhaps with each deep breath, letting yourself let go and surrender a little bit more, feeling as though whatever occurred in your day can just start to relax. And just let any worries, any ruminating thoughts start to slip away. Beautiful. Last 30 seconds here. For these next 30 seconds, an invitation to make the breath a bit more deep, to move more oxygen into the system, to let go of more CO2, to shift the state. to shift your state with your awareness and doing it on purpose. Beautiful, you're all doing amazing. Just a few more deep breaths here. Keep feeling, stay focused. And then I invite you to finish your next breath. Exhale out, let it go. Then take a nice deep breath in all the way up. Exhale, relax, and then hold your breath after your exhale. So holding your breath with your lungs gently empty, just relax. Remember, it's safe to hold your breath. You've brought in a lot of oxygen. But try to just resist any urge to breathe. Bring your awareness into your body. Notice how peaceful it is, how quiet. And we just stop our breathing and give ourselves an opportunity to be. And then soon we'll breathe again in 3, 2, 1. Take a nice deep breath in all the way up and then hold your breath at the top. As you hold your breath, connect to your power. Feel this life force that you've cultivated, that surge of energy as it courses through your vessel for 3, 2, 1. Big exhale, just let it go. Keep your eyes closed as you allow your awareness to still remain in the body. Just take a few moments. Allow your breath to come back to a normal pace. Then just tuning in, asking yourself how you'd like to show up for this container. Remembering that your presence here is very important, that this is a co-creation. So just maybe ask yourself internally, how do I want to show up? What kind of energy do I want to bring? How do I want to contribute to this session, this time, this space and time that we'll share together? And whatever shows up for you, trust that that's right, and that's appropriate. It's exactly what's needed. For you have a very unique, one-of-a-kind perspective. And with that, when you're feeling ready, you can gently open your beautiful eyes. Come back to the container. Thank you, everybody. Hope you're feeling good. Maybe a little shift, a little grounding. Amazing.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good every time.
So
Woo! I was like navigating in the beginning and like doing some things and doing the breathing and like, whoa, like, okay, whoa, like doing stuff while I was doing it. Shout out Ming, the breathwork gangster, doing it everywhere with absolutely zero shame or judgment. Like, you motivate me, man. You inspire me. He's on the train right now, conscious connected breathing. He's been in the food court. Like, you're an inspiration, man. I actually really appreciate that so much. So yeah, thank you so much. We always invite people to share, of course, about the breath work. I'd actually like to prompt Dev, if you don't mind, being the new guy and first time trying conscious connected breathing. How was that? Did you get it?
Yeah, like I feel like I was there, but like I have a lot of thoughts going on, so it was hard to like pay attention to the in and out. But like, and then or like it was kind of cutting, so I couldn't time it properly. So like my thoughts were going again once I was like, oh, I'm not staying with it, right? So yeah, so no, but like still it feels nice after. I've been kind of stressed, so that was a nice, like, to get it out and to relieve that, you know. So I feel like I'm in a better state because of it.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, man. We appreciate that so much. And that's sometimes that's the thing with conscious connected breathing. Like it's been awesome doing this alongside Eric these past couple weeks, because at first time we do it, that's what's going on. We're thinking, am I doing this right? Like, what's going on right now? Am I doing this right? Is this correct? And sometimes that's what breathwork shows us. Like sometimes you don't do it correct, and that's perfect. because you're like
Oh yeah.
way up in my head right now. I can't even breathe right now. Like I'm so in my thoughts. And so
Yeah.
it's one of the best parts about breath work. Hi Amber. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome to our call. Yeah, good to see you. So I want to touch on something quickly before we dive into our shadow work and gratitude call today, and that was Brian saying the word co-creation. And these containers every single time are a co-creation. Vulnerability is the currency of relationships, and sharing, contributing, bringing your energy to this. Shout out Dev, you've already done an amazing job. You opened up vulnerably, being like, yep, I've been kind of going through some lately and now I'm here. And so like really appreciate you setting the tone for this call, because that's what these calls are all about. It's not just supposed to be like a lecture.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Awesome, bro. Okay, so today, in the theme of our past couple weeks, we are going to be continuing. So 2 weeks ago, shadow work and gratitude, we did the shame game. That was super fun. We'll probably have to do the shame game part 2 pretty soon, because we all go through it all the time. And the other 2 aspects that really bog us down as humans are fear and guilt. And so sometimes it can be hard to like differentiate those things, because they're all like really good friends. Fear, shame, and guilt, they like to hang out a lot of the time. Usually one of them comes to the party and all 3 are show up. But today what we're going to be focusing on in conjunction with the goals and accountabilities that we've been setting, which have been had a lot to do with relationships and the emotional pillar, we're going to kind of be tying all of these together today. And if you were on our relationships call on Tuesday, then you got a serious dose of what that is like. And today what we're going to be going over is boundaries. And why don't we set them? Why when we set them do we feel guilty? Right? That's a really common thing that happens. You set it, you're like, oh, I really got to honor myself and set this boundary. And then you go to your loved one and you set this boundary. And then you're like, oh, I've hurt my loved one. I've hurt my friend. I said no to going out. I hurt my loved one. I said I don't want to see him tonight. I want to just hang out by myself. Like, oh, and why is that? What's going on? And different ways to navigate this. I'm imagining this boundaries section is going to be coming up quite a lot. And I'm not sure if we'll be able to cover everything in 40 minutes. So today's going to be cool. This is going to be like a real taste of kind of like the different medicines that Brian and I bring today. You guys know mine. I'm going to drop some knowledge bombs on you and make you go like, what? And then Brian's going to really get a chance today to get us into our bodies. So today, you're going to want your journal. You don't necessarily need your journal today. We might just be doing prompts in the chat. Again, we always encourage people to open up. Brian, you said it so beautifully on the Love, Trust, Trauma webinar the other day about the sphere. Oh my goodness, I got to give props to Brian, but this was freaking amazing. I've never heard it said this way before. We've all heard like in class, like ask a question because it's likely someone else has that same question and they're like, they don't have the courage to ask it, right? But the way Brian said it was like looking at a circle versus a sphere, where it's like, we're approaching it through our lens, but then someone else is coming through their lens over here, and then another person is coming through their lens over here. And when everybody asks their questions and gets vulnerable, they're actually like if someone comes forward with their vulnerability, it's actually a vulnerability of mine that I didn't even know I needed to express. And so it's so welcome being fully transparent, fully open in these calls. Cool. And I'm heated up now, which is a good sign. Okay. So boundaries. Boundaries are the limits and guidelines that we establish to protect our physical, emotional, and mental, and spiritual and financial well-being, as well as to define our personal preferences and values. So, what are some primary reasons why we fail to set or establish or even recognize these boundaries? If you want to take journal prompts to have your little like journal to go back to for your pieces of awareness, you can. Otherwise, I'll be dropping them in the chat. The first reason why people completely miss holding boundaries or even recognizing them is fear of rejection. Fear of rejection. Many people are afraid of being rejected or disliked by others. I mean, everybody, many people, everyone is afraid of being rejected or disliked by others. So they compromise their boundaries in an effort to be accepted. We'll be talking about this in a moment, how this has to do with personality traits. Another reason, lack of self-awareness. So sometimes we're not even aware. In our codependency webinar the other day, I talked about the different ways that we end up like sacrificing ourselves in relationships, and I'm super guilty of this. Like I have completely lost myself in relationships. Like I didn't even know who I was by the time I was done in that relationship, and it was all due to not setting boundaries and a complete lack of awareness of like one step at a time, until all of a sudden I'm 100% gone. Another reason why people don't set their boundaries is guilt or obligation. Guilt or obligation, right? So I touched on that. People feel guilty. They don't want to set these boundaries because they think setting boundaries is going to hurt others. And maybe it does, right? Maybe it causes them to go, oh, ow, like you don't want to spend time with me. But what we really want to do, we talked about this in the relationship webinar, the key to symbiotic relationships is proper communication, respect, trust. And so having these tough conversations when two people that love each other come together and they got to set these boundaries in between each other is critical for a long-lasting relationship, whether it's friends, family, romantic, business. You got to know your person. Another one is something called lack of assertiveness. This is an area of expertise that I am an expert in because I am super assertive and I help equip people with it. Some people struggle to communicate their boundaries assertively, which can make it easier for others to ignore it or bowl over it. So sometimes, and I've actually guilty of this in the past as well, when I was far more agreeable, is I'd be like, I don't want to do that. And someone would be like, loser? And I'm like, okay, I do want to do it. I do. Okay, I lied. I do want to do it. But it's like not actually the truth, right? Like you don't stand strong. You finally muster up the courage and you're like, I don't want to come out with you tonight. And they're like, aw. And you're like, okay, I break. I'm coming then. I'm coming. Lack of assertiveness and standing in your strength. And then the final one is simply codependency. If you made it to our webinar the other day, then you have a nice understanding of codependency. People who struggle with codependency have a difficulty setting and maintaining healthy boundaries as they may be more focused on meeting the needs of others than their own needs. So this is a perfect time to give a shout out to our Courage program in Human Potential Academy. We go over something over and over again. It's called the 5 big personality traits. The 5 big personality traits are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Today, we're going to touch on agreeableness and neuroticism because these are the fundamental reasons why we don't hold our boundaries. So agreeableness in the 5 big personality traits, someone who has high agreeableness would be described as somebody that loves other people, that really cares about how other people feel, that wants others to be happy, which sounds great, right? Like more of those people, please. The issue is they often do it at the expense of themselves. So I have this thing I'm working on. You guys have probably heard me say this like 1,000 times now. Half of you already know what I'm going to say, but I have this module that I'm working on called the Peacekeeper's Path to Wrath. So here's what happens with agreeable people. The people that love people so much, that care about people so much, is they'll neglect what they want and they'll just stay quiet about it. The peacekeepers. So the example in like a relationship, this could be, I'll just use the same example I always use, which is the dishes. So when one of the partners comes home and they always do the dishes, right? They're always doing the dishes, and they really wish the other partner would do the dishes sometimes. But they don't say anything because they love that other person. right? Oh, I don't want to bug them. That person works hard too. Like, I don't want to make them upset. I don't want to get into a fight. All of those conversations, I don't want to make that person upset. I don't want to get into a fight. Agreeableness is avoiding confrontation. I don't want to make that person upset. Agreeableness alarm should be going off. So what happens when you do this over time, over a year, right? It might be a day. That's okay. I do the dishes for the day. I do it for a week. I do it for a month. I do it for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. You start to hate that person. You start to look at that person like, this person doesn't even love me. This person is like, I'm doing the dishes literally every single day. How can they not think that I don't want to do these dishes every day? Well, it's because you haven't said anything. It's because that person is probably low in trait agreeableness, which doesn't mean they're evil. It just means they're focusing on their path, which is what the high agreeable person should aspire to. The same that the low agreeable person should aspire to these high agreeable traits. So what ends up happening when you're highly agreeable is you have a very difficult time setting boundaries. And you oftentimes will find yourself walking into situations where you end up disdaining the very person that you loved. Anybody like done that? Anybody like not like disturb the peace just to make someone happy and then ended up like not liking that person because of how selfish they are? I know this person's so selfish, never does anything for me. And then did you ask though? Right? Like, did you ever ask for them to do something for you? Because if you didn't, whose fault is it? And so I'm really excited for Brian's practice today that he's going to have people do because he's bringing in. Actually, I won't give it away. I'll get you a little excited for it. The other thing is called neuroticism, and so I've disturbed the peace and tried to assert my boundaries, but it wasn't taken seriously. So what we're going to be talking about in the second half today is how to do it so it doesn't piss people off. How to do it so that you're actually taken seriously. Words to use, tones to use, stances to take, so that when you do it, you don't need to worry about pissing the person off, and hopefully you do it in a way. Brian actually like used an example on me earlier, and I was like, oh my god, like, yes, Brian, take your space, like, absolutely, the way you asked me, goodness, you deserve it. But if other people had done it like, nah, I don't want to come out, I'd be like, well, I'm not inviting you next time then. No, bitch, fine then. But the way he did it, I was like, yes, like, oh god, Brian, like, go rest, man. So amazing. And he switched up a couple simple words with how he did it. So there's ways to do the communication of it effectively. Before I pass it over to Brian, I'll talk about the other personality traits called neuroticism. And neuroticism doesn't mean like crazy. I don't know why we think it means crazy, but neuroticism means sensitivity to negative emotion. So the sad is sadder, the mad is madder, the scared is scareder. And pessimism versus optimism. So what often will happen is someone will be high in trait agreeableness and high in trait neuroticism. So not only do they want to avoid confrontation, but when they picture doing it, they picture it going poorly. So like, I'm like low agreeable, low neuroticism. So I'm like, yeah, not only will I confront you, but I think it's going to go swimmingly. And then that comes with its whole batch of like not good stuff too, right? These are neither good nor bad traits. When you're really low in trait neuroticism, like it's like classic. So say like the more masculine energy has like low agreeableness, low neuroticism. Well, they'll look at the person with high agreeableness, high neuroticism as a drama queen, right? Oh my goodness, you're so sensitive, and oh my god, you're so scared all the time, blah blah blah. And then that person with the higher agreeableness, high neuroticism will look at the low neuroticism, low agreeableness like a dumb ass, because they literally are. They're constantly going headfirst into danger and getting hurt when they go into danger and coming back like, yeah, no, it's going to work out next time. Yeah. And so, and they're both right? Like, and that's the beauty of the symbiosis is they're both right. So anyways, I'm going to pass this over to Brian now. Really excited for the second half of this call. And yeah, thank you all so much for attending today. Love y'all.
Amazing. Thank you, Matt. So with this awareness of like why we may not hold up our boundaries, like I mean, it's kind of obvious. It doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to put a boundary between ourselves and other people. But when we understand that usually that comes from an illusory paradigm, we believe that we may not get what we need if we don't do the thing that we don't want to do. When we dissolve that illusion, it becomes a bit easier. And what I'm getting at is like, we usually breach our boundaries or allow our boundaries to be breached because we feel like we won't get loved, or we won't get nourished, or we won't get validated, or we won't get something that we feel like we need. Or you just were never taught about boundaries. Like myself, I was never taught about boundaries when I was a kid, so I didn't even know they were a thing. I was just like, boundaries, what are those? And the unfortunate thing is that if you don't have boundaries, they will get crossed 100% for sure. They will get crossed. So it's like, it's important to set them. So before I jump into my section, I want to mention like a kind of a shift I found in boundary setting that was really helpful. Sometimes we can come across it with this approach that it's like, oh, I'm pushing these people away, or like, oh, a boundary, it sounds very intense, right? Like I'm setting a boundary. Instead, we can think of it as, this is the space in which I can be loved and I can show up in my best. And you're giving people the blueprint. You're showing them, hey, this is how I can actually show up in my best. And it's a very loving thing. It's a very beautiful thing if we can do that for someone. Otherwise, how else are they supposed to know, right? Like, how do we know if we're crossing someone's boundary if they don't tell us, like, oh no, I don't want to do those things, or that's not available to me? So that can be helpful. But yeah, let's go into this next portion. So when you're communicating boundaries, communication, only like, actually I'm gonna pull up this again because I forget. Very little of communication is done through word exchange. It's actually only 7% is the words, 38% is your tone, 55%, so the majority of how you communicate is through your body. So we're going to practice some of those things because, of course, like the words are important, but the tone will change it and then your body will change it. So what I'm going to get you all to do is stand up. Let's stand up. I'm not going to stand up because I'll kind of stand up. My headphones are here. But we're just going to stand up and go through a little power stance practice. It's really simple. It's really simple. So just stand nice and strong. Yeah, you can have either your arms alongside your body, or you can have your arms on your hips. But first, what I want you to do is, as you're standing there, first feel your heels sink into the ground. So feeling very rooted, feeling very rooted. And then lift your spine by bringing your chest up a little bit. So feeling like you're opening your chest and like your arms are open as well. So and then if you can, close your eyes and feel this stance. So feel yourself taking up space. And just notice how that feels in your body with every breath, what it feels like to actually just take up space. And then invite the sensation in that you're allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to take up space. That's okay. I don't know if you're like me. When I was a kid, I felt like I should not be taking up space. All right, so let's try the opposite now. I want you to kind of bend in your spine a little bit, kind of crouch down a little bit, make yourself a little bit small. And just notice how this shifts your feeling of yourself. Like, what does it feel like now to be standing a little bit closed in? Like, your face muscles might already change, your whole vibration will change. So you can see here in this, just through the body, like how this makes you feel and how this energy is going to be sent forward. So let's go back to the strong posture for you, where you feel like not threatening, but you feel in your power. And we're just going to practice saying some things out loud. So I'm just going to break up some stuff here. If it doesn't feel super genuine to you, that's okay, but we're just practicing saying no. So you can say this after me: no, I'm not free tonight. I am spending time with myself, thank you. Or, no, I really appreciate the offer, but that doesn't sound right for me right now. I know it's really important that I come see your parents, but I don't really have the energy of the time. Maybe we can make it, or we could do it another time. And then I want you to think, maybe close your eyes here for a sec. Try to think of a memory where someone asked you to do something, invited you out somewhere, maybe it was a friend, maybe it was a loved one, a request made that made you a bit uncomfortable. And in that moment, you did break the boundary. Maybe you went out, you did the thing, or you went out with your friends even though you really didn't want to, or you felt guilty, you felt obligated. Bring that sensation into your body. And then let's redefine that memory. Let's give it a new meaning. So whatever your choice was then, I want you to feel this power stance that you're in right now. And I want you to imagine like replaying that. Like, how would you have set that boundary? What would you have said? What would you have done differently if you could have? And again, it's not about feeling guilty or ashamed. Rather, it's just reminding yourself that you have this capacity, that you're able to stand up for yourself and establish what's right for you. Really, really nice. Okay, you guys can come back. Really good job. Before we move on, there are a couple more things I want to share, but how was that for anyone? Anything else interesting come up worth sharing?
Holy cow, I definitely want to share. That was crazy. I was like this, and I was like, yes. And then you had us go down, and my face literally went like, oh. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like I felt like I could, like a light breeze would blow me over, versus this way I felt like I could like lift the planet if I wanted to. And that was like really amazing. Like I've been really bringing a lot of awareness personally to like the spiritual and energetic impact of posture, how we walk, how we sit. Like it matters so much, but I've never had such an impactful example as that right there. So yeah, thank you so much. That was like, whoa.
It's amazing, man. Yeah, Eric.
That actually made me laugh because I saw you like this, and it looked like you were going into like a little cave or something. But what was interesting, as you were saying that, like I noticed my facial expressions changed. Like it did kind of feel a little scared and small and just like sort of inward. Whereas like the other pose like felt like I was more confident, just a little bit more like assuring of yourself. So yeah, I definitely noticed a difference on that.
Thanks for sharing, Eric. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, I felt angry when I shrunk in. I actually felt like enraged almost, and I was like, wow, that's such an interesting feeling. I hated it. And then I went back and posed. I'm like, okay, this feels right. Like the power pose, like, hey, liberation. So it was really fascinating.
Totally.
It's just like so impactful. I'm so impacted by that. Like next time you find yourself feeling down, check your posture. Right? Check it. Right? You probably don't need to do a whole bunch besides like pinch your shoulder blades back and like put a smile on your face, right? That blew me away.
So that's really cool. You, as a little tangent, now you have all experienced, you all have lived proof that the body and mind are one and the same. What does this mean? It means that your body and like the way that your body is feeling is going to inevitably create ideation. It's going to create thoughts. So like if you're like this, what are you saying to yourself? You're saying, I'm not strong and I'm in this weird position. And then we start to create ideas around this. And the same thing, if I'm worried about shit and I'm like, oh my God, blah, blah, my body's going to start to tense up. The body and the mind are one and the same. Really, the body comes from the mind. We won't go too deep into that though. That's like Hermetic philosophy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about tone. I'll explain this and then we're going to practice a little bit. It'll be fun. So when we're setting boundaries, communication with the words is obviously like unavoidable, but we can do it in a way where people can get really triggered, or we can do it in a way where we communicate very kindly while also asserting ourselves. So when it comes to your voice, if you notice that your voice is going up like this a lot, and you're and like this and this having this upwards tonality, it may be an indication that there's a bit of like vocal work that needs to be done. when you speak from the lower part of your body, like a deeper part, there's a resonance that comes through. There's like an assuredness. So you can hear the difference, right? When I'm speaking from a deeper part of my body, when I'm asserting myself, and when I'm trying to, maybe see if you would agree with me, and it kind of goes up. So remembering that you can find that deeper tonality, but we can also do it in a way that is kind. So I'm going to make that distinction. Let's say again, someone's like, hey, you want to go out tonight? Like, no, I'm not coming out. May not be received very well. Alternatively, I can still be assertive and be like, no, I'm not going to be coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm dedicated to, getting a good sleep tonight. Maybe we can go out next week. How would that sound? So as you can see, I was still very assertive in my voice. I was clear. I offered another option, but I was, not flippant about it, and wasn't like just like, no, we can't do this. So let's actually practice this a little bit. Can I have a volunteer? Who wants to practice with me?
Just pick someone.
Okay, Tiana, let's have you. Okay. So
Okay.
again, we're just playing here. There's no right or wrong. We're just having fun. So I'm gonna ask you something that I'm gonna assume that it's not within your boundary, and I just want you to practice from what I've shared here, just saying no in a way that is like assertive. You don't necessarily have to explain yourself, but just see what comes up for you. A way of asserting your boundary in that confident kind of way. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Let me see here. I just need to find a character. Let's see.
It's the beard rub.
Okay, I'm just gonna like make a classic one. Oh my God, you've got to come out tonight. It is some sort of crazy deal at the bar. We're gonna get fucked up. Tiana, are you coming?
I'm so sorry. I actually don't drink that much, so I don't think I'd have as good of a time. But maybe we could do something else another time.
Oh, okay. Can I play with you a little bit here?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, so what do you mean you don't drink anymore? Like what? Like is that just like some new like health thing? Like are we like never gonna drink again together?
I mean, I don't know if we'll ever drink again together, but right now it doesn't feel good in my body to like consume for fun, so I just won't be doing that.
Okay, I see. So okay, that kind of makes more sense to me. So like we'll still hang out, but you're just not wanting to drink right now?
Definitely.
Okay, I can handle that. Cool, awesome.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for playing along. Okay, awesome. I'm quite making this up as I go, but I think it's good to practice these things. Does anyone else want to try? It's all good. It's all good.
Pick
Okay,
someone.
cool.
For some reason, I was like a little nervous to explain my no. I don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
I got like butterflies when you were like, so what do you mean? And I'm just like, do I have to explain myself to you? I don't know why that came up.
Well, that's okay. So I'll go a little bit into this a bit more. So, yeah, when it comes to communicating, I think it's important. Like when we establish boundaries, we have to realize a couple of things, right? Like for old friends usually see us in the way that they want, not in the way that we are. And when we change and we grow, this makes people uncomfortable, close friends and family. And to no fault of their own, when we change and we're like, I'm growing and I'm gonna stop drinking, or I'm gonna eat healthy food, or I'm gonna exercise, whatever it is, I'm gonna do breath work. It scares people because they have an idea of who you are, and who you are might construct their reality, their identity. It's like you might be, the analogy to make is you're like taking a pillar away from the foundation of what they know to be true. And why I offer this is we can offer compassion. So I words are really important here. I need this for me. This is how I feel. This is just like part of my journey, and this is about me, right? Like not like I don't want to hang out with you, or I don't want to be around with you, or drinking with you. It's not about them. It's about us as individuals, and we're taking this position because it's important to us, or how we want to live our lives. So that's, I think, really important to understand. Like if you're having issues confronting that with people, recognizing, having that compassionate eye, and seeing, you don't need to say this to them, but seeing that like you changing might be very alarming for them. It might be like, oh my gosh, like this person that I know, like who are you now? Like you're not the person that I once knew. And with continued communication, if you're setting those boundaries, I know I don't want to drink, I really appreciate it, or this and that, there may come a time where like it's happened to me, where you just don't have a lot of ways to connect with those people anymore. Like if you have friends that you used to drink with a lot or party with a lot or whatever it is, and you're not doing those things anymore, it may be difficult to have those points of connection. And that's not necessarily a boundary, but it might just be something to communicate, right? Like I don't like to do these things so much anymore. I care for you as a person, but it's just hard for us to connect in this way because the things that I'm choosing to do and the things that you're choosing to do are very different. So I mentioned that because in the boundary setting process, it may seem like we're pushing people away and like, oh my gosh, like I don't have these friends anymore. But that is as a byproduct of you honoring yourself. You're putting yourself first, and you're deciding that like my worth is up here. I want to live up to this level of self-worth. Because your needs and your boundaries are they're the declaration of your self-worth. They say to the world and to yourself, this is what I'm worth. I'm worth having this time. I'm worth eating this food. I'm worth making this much money. I'm worth feeling this way. And your needs and your boundaries are kind of like the mortar and the glue that create that place, that house for you, if you will, if it was like a living space. I'm just gonna look at some comments because I see people typing in here stuff. Okay, yeah, I got some good stuff here. So we've been chatting for a while here, so let's have everyone, if you're comfortable with it, could you guys share in the chat? Sorry, I just come a couple of things here. Okay, that's one. Yeah, maybe you could share like if you've had a hard time setting boundaries, like what was the hard thing for you? Was it like the communication part? Was it knowing what the boundary is? For me, the difficulty with boundaries was I didn't even know that like I could set them. I didn't even know that was like an option. So when someone asked like, what are your boundaries? I used to think like, can I even tell someone like, don't talk to me right now? Or no, I don't want to do that. So that was my struggle. But yeah, so maybe for some of you, it might be like not having the words, or is it upholding the boundary itself? Like you make the boundary, but then you get loosey-goosey and you don't continue it. Yeah, Eric, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think for me at least, it's about like consistency, right? Like I've had those recent times when people are like, I've noticed that you've changed in a couple months ago, and then like they still kind of like do it week after week. So I just thinking the vocabulary and everything that you're talking about is really important, and to just kind of join with that. I don't know if you guys all know who Mel Robbins is, but she was doing something about boundaries and saying, like, she used an example like politics, like okay, if my thing is today when I go to work, whatever, or wherever, if they bring up politics, then I've already set my boundary that I can leave, right? But my problem is like with at work, for example, I feel like sometimes you're in an environment where you don't have that luxury to just escape, right? Like you have to like hear them out and everything. So I think I just sort of question like, how do you get around that? And is it just strictly through vocabulary, just so that you can give them a heads up that that's not of my interest, or that's not, I can't really respond to that, because I kind of deal with day in, day out with people still doing that over and over again, and as if they're like not getting the hint, and like I just feel like the bad guy for not hearing them.
Right. So just so I understand, the issue is like sometimes people want to share things with you and you don't really want to listen to those things.
Well, yeah, it's like if I said, and I'm just going to use her example as politics, like if it came up, like, that she would say like, that's your time to go, like you could just go. But I was just like, how do you just get to go? Like, because sometimes you don't really just get to go. Like, you still have to be in your office, or you have to still be there, or wherever. So it's like, how do you escape that, so to speak? That's my question, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to make before I give any advice, just making sure I understand it. So I don't know why I'm getting confused. So someone's coming to your office and talking to you about something work related?
No, it's not work related. That's the thing. So
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's like if it's like a boundary of yours, like you're trying to allow yourself to exit that conversation because you don't want to be a part of it, like it's just, I don't know. Is it just structurally, you just have to like know what to say back because it kind of keeps coming back up again, constantly.
Yeah, I think a couple of things in that situation, Eric, is I mean, in the moment, this is the hardest. You could stop the person and say, "Hey, as much I see that you're sharing this with me. I don't really have the capacity to receive this right now. Could we pick this up at another time?" Or if you don't want to address it in the moment, and you notice that it's like this pattern that's coming up, asking that person, "Hey, can I just have a moment to talk to you? Hey, I just noticed this communication pattern is showing up, and for me, it's hard to hold space for that. And for me, it's like I feel like I don't always have the ability. Would it be an option for you to like when you come to communicate with me, could you ask if I am able to receive you at that time? Is that something that you would be able to do?" And see if they can, if they tolerate it. Usually people would be like, "Great, yeah, sounds no problem." But at least like letting them know that this is something that you've noticed and that for you it's difficult to just receive without being asked permission.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I mean, that's actually a good one for everyone. Is just like a rule of thumb is to practice this and to ask this of people. Like sometimes I'll ask people, like when they come to me and maybe it looks like they're like emotionally dumping, I'm like, what is it that you need from me right now? Do you want me to just listen? Are you wanting advice? Okay, cool. I can do that or I can't do that. Letting people know what's actually available, or vice versa. Like if I was, going to Matt with something emotional, I might be like, hey brother, can you receive me right now? I would like to share something that's a bit intense and I might want some advice. Is that something that you have the space for? So then we're getting into this practice of not assuming, and we're like asking for permission to communicate to people, which is respecting the boundary by assuming we don't know what the boundary is. It's always good to assume, like to not assume that someone has no boundaries. Mara, thank you for everyone for sharing all that you did in the chat.
Yeah, I should probably stop sharing in the chat because I have a lot to say on this topic. Like I'm going through all types of breaking my own boundaries right now. I actually have confession. So one of the guys that I've been like that try to ask me out or whatever, I found myself lying to him because I don't want to go out with him, and I'm like, why am I lying? Why
Yeah.
didn't I just say like, whatever? But it's because like I didn't want to further offend him. But well, can we just go out as friends? I'm like, that's not your intention, but I didn't say that to him. And so like me lying is actually making me feel bad about myself because I'm like, yeah, like I'm trying to just get him to shut up or go away, but I'm not going about it the right way. And that's my confession.
Thank you for your confession. That stuff is hard, it's like we have to sometimes choose our battles. If you notice that being out of integrity with your word is poking you a lot internally, perhaps, yeah, make a shift. But, sometimes it's like my partner will get guys approaching her and she doesn't really like explain or engage, and she may just be like, whatever. So, choose your battles. But yeah, if you notice that it's like, it's important to you to have that level of honesty to people, then yeah, I think it is powerful. Especially if like a guy's hitting on you and it's really annoying. You can be like, actually, I really am not enjoying this, and you're a nice person, but I don't have any interest in dating you. Nothing wrong with saying that to a man. Sometimes they could probably use hearing that.
Yeah, and I think one thing about setting boundaries, which we haven't quite exactly talked about, is like set the boundary, and if they handle it despicably, then like build a great wall. Like sometimes boundary setting means like, light a fire on the other side and then burn the wall, and whatever happens happens. Like sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes like we set that boundary, and if you do it in a proper way, communicate, listen to what they have to say, use I, validate what they're saying, and then they still are like pressing, remove. That's a part of it. A part of it is removing it, really. And that's arguably definitely the toughest part when it comes to some of these boundary setting things.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. That was yeah, that kind of like the last part I wanted to mention is that it's a litmus test in a way too. So if you set a boundary and they're like, oh, like especially if they're like, thank you, I didn't know this, or no problem, all good. It's like green lights all the way, right? They respect it. If they keep questioning you, or they make some sort of insult or assessment, or like, what do you mean? Like, you're not gonna come out, or that's so stupid. Immediate red flag. And again, it's not them as a person, it's just that if this person can't respect your boundary, then it's not worth it for you. It's not worth you to, like, you're worth more than that. You're worth being around people who are going to respect your capacities, and you going out and you spending time with these people should not dictate their respect of you. Like, we should all, like, the people that I love in my life that I care for, if they're like, no, I can't do that right now, I'm like, no problem, it's all good. So like Matt said, it's an excellent litmus test. And it's like setting that standard too. Like, I only want to spend quality time with people who respect my boundaries and can go, or can honor those things. Yeah, Dev.
Yeah. So, okay. So I get what you mean by setting boundaries and like when you don't want to spend time with certain people. But like, okay, say you're in a relationship though, and the person that you're with says, I'm like an introvert. I like having my own space. You give that space, but that space becomes less and less all the time. And now you're just like, okay, so I'm still trying to meet your boundary, but then when do I, because every time I bring it up, it's like, it's almost an expectation of mine that you have to be there 24/7, when I'm just saying I'd like to spend a little bit more time with you. So how far do you extend that boundary if you don't want to spend time with that person? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So they're saying they want more time alone, and you're saying you want more time with them?
Right.
Right. And when that boundary has been communicated, was it like, I just need time alone, or is there a specific time in the day or specific periods?
No, it's nothing like very specific. It's just like, it's always like a random time. Okay, let's chill this time. And always on their time. It's never making time. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing I can offer is just like, you kind of gave me the answer, is like, again, communicating that in the sense like, hey, this is something that I've noticed, and I feel this is how I feel, and are you seeing this as well, that I want this type of quality time, and you've established like you need time alone, but I don't feel an effort of wanting quality time. Is it something we can talk about? Is it something I'm only feeling? Are you feeling it as well? How does that land for you?
Right. And I've had this conversation. It's actually like me. I'm not hypothetically speaking, but it's actually a relationship that I'm in right now. And I'm just trying to like get it in my head, like how to respect the boundary. But if the boundary is turning into more and more distance, is it really a boundary?
Yeah, I
Right?
think that's
Because I've voiced my opinion on it, and I said, hey, like, like, I'm not spending as much time with you. Can we spend more time together? But then it turns into a fight, and then it's like me saying I just want her to be here every day, so it's like, yeah, it's a fine line.
Yeah, I think, I'll be honest, I think this might, well, yeah, this is a little out of the scope of what I can offer you right now. But
Yeah.
what I will say is like, there's many layers to this. There might be like opposing attachment styles happening. There
Sure
may
enough.
be like, when it comes to the boundary, it might be like you said, it's like now it's leaning into needs. Like, are your needs being met and her needs being met? Are her perceived needs of needing time alone being met, and does that actually match up with your sense of needing quality time? And so maybe that's a discussion that needs to be happened. But like you said, if she's having a hard time even having the conversation and getting really whatever she's doing, guarding herself or preventing that from happening, that's difficult, because if you can't communicate, then there's nowhere you can go. So
Right.
yeah, it might
Okay.
like, I think the conversation of like just simple needs and boundaries, like what do you need for quality time? What do I need? Is there a place in the middle that we can figure out how this is? Does it work out for both of us? Is it realistic?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Cool, man.
Right,
And
thanks.
if you want more, man, you should definitely join we have some free relationship webinars coming up, and they're like all about this stuff. So,
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
but
Thanks.
but
Can I
thank you,
share?
everyone. Oh yeah, please, yeah.
I don't know where the little hand is. So yeah, last year I started stepping into like creating boundaries. Like my whole life, I felt like I was the type of person that held my head down and just kind of let people walk all over me and had no boundaries. So last year was like when I really stepped into it. And there was this situation where a friend kept venting to me, and it was just like random stuff, just venting. And so I like created a boundary, and I said, you know, I brought it up that it's not okay to, or that it was too heavy on me. It was just too much on me, and it was really affecting my life. And I brought awareness to it, and I felt like she handled the situation well, but then I could tell that it really hurt her. Like I could just tell by like videos that she was posting, and like I could just tell that she was hurting a lot from what I had said. And I felt so guilty and so shameful about it. And I like it almost has like kind of continued to like even now I still think about that time, and I'm like, oh, like I feel guilty. I feel shameful because you know, on one side she was going through a lot, even though that wasn't what she was venting about. It was like you know, it was just, but it was also heavy on me, and I've got to respect my boundaries. I got to respect like what's right for me, because then I won't be able to show up in the world as myself. So how would I deal with the shame and the shame that comes with that after?
That's a really, really good question.
Yeah.
How's the relationship now?
It's okay. It's okay. I feel like that was like the moment where like it just kind of like there is, because then there is some stuff that she did, and then it was like yeah, it was just since then it wasn't the same, I would say. But like I really do feel like I handled it well, which is yeah.
For sure. There's a couple of things that I could recommend. You could take a somatic approach, and you could like get really attuned to that feeling of guilt and shame, and then let your body shake, and like you'd be breathing throughout this, but like shake through it and just allow yourself to feel it with the intention of like knowing that I'm going to use my body to process the emotion. So just like really go into it and let it be fully felt. It sounds like there might be some trapped emotion from the exchange. Another approach, which is more of a mental approach, would just be to write out you know, all the things you feel, or maybe the way that you feel about her and the relationship and how bad that made you feel, as a means to offer more closure, because it just sounds like maybe there wasn't complete closure, and sometimes we can go through that process of closing it through our own words and through our own writing, and that might even prompt like maybe there are more things you want to say to this person. Like sounds like it's been some time that's gone by, and maybe just offering that of like, hey, I've reflected on this, and like I still stand in that boundary, I still stand in that decision, but I do feel these emotions in these ways about you, and I wanted to share that. That may be helpful as well, because sometimes we feel guilt and all these things from not having a proper closing, or a proper kind of like I say a clean break. Not that it's like a break, but I think you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things I think I would go through. But yeah, like especially the body, sometimes we just like keep things in our mind, and then we don't allow the whole thing to be processed. But good for you for standing in that boundary. That's not easy work. And this is I know we're kind of over time, so if anyone needs to go, it's all good. But this is a great example of like, it's not always clean. It's not always going to be clean. And but Steph makes a great example of like, she's giving that person an opportunity to have a real relationship with her, because when we don't set boundaries, we don't communicate our needs, when we don't actually show up as we are, people are having relationships with a version of ourselves that we've created. You know, we wear and we create these versions for so long, then we just start acting in these ways. And I say this from a deep place of experience. I've been like a shapeshifter, a chameleon my whole life. But when we start doing the things that, like setting the boundaries and saying what we can really want and what we don't want, the people that are in our life are there because they, out of a true understanding of who you are. So yes, on one side it's very freaky and scary. It's like, what if I stand in who I am and no one's there, or people don't like me? Well, there will be people that don't like you. That's totally fine. But there will be people who are around you who really know who you are, and really want to see you succeed and want to see you grow and evolve and change. And you'll want the same for them. And that's the most fulfilling thing, in relationships, I'd say. So I know we're a bit over. Thanks for letting me go over, guys. I hope that was helpful. And maybe forgetting some things. I'm sure Matt will want to say some things too, but just as a reminder, if you haven't signed up for the webinars for the relationships, definitely join. The last session was like really powerful. Lots of amazing energy. Dr. Divi is like it's hard to explain, but she's very tapped into the energetics of this, and she creates like a very strong energetic portal for us to like do this work to, dive deep into our childhood traumas. And yeah, it's just like a really powerful place for us to understand ourselves in relation in a deeper way. So yeah, anything else you want to mention, Matt?
Oh, just a couple of final words. It's so amazing, everybody sharing. Just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been having like so many amazing conversations in the chats and like everybody opening up. I'm so glad, Steph, you brought up that friend boundary. I see it with women a lot, like, and that's just trait agreeableness. You care about your friend. Thank you, Eric, talking about your boss, talking about the work boundaries, and then everyone, of course, with the romantic and the parents. So yeah, just want to extend heart to heart. Thank you so much. I really love you guys. These calls, like, no matter how tired I am, I'm always super lit up when I'm in these calls and when I'm done doing them. So it really fills my heart and brings me so much energy and joy. So thank you so much. I love you guys a lot. Tomorrow we have a featured facilitator. It's going to be really, really awesome. It's going to be doing some like, pretty sure like qigong and other somatic type of movements. So it's going to be cool because that's new for me too. So it's going to be something cool to explore. But yeah, I love you guys a lot. We'll see you either tomorrow or Monday or the next Thursday. You know where to find us, same time on those days. Thank you so much, guys. Love y'all. Bye.
Yeah, it's much love, everyone. Thank you.